Today is May 20th, 2016, back with the Stocks to Trade midday watch list. A few interesting stocks, but actually one really interesting stock today. So for sure, the most interesting and most volatile stock of the day is CLRB, Cellectar Biosciences. This is, it kind of popped up on, somewhat positive news. But the biggest thing you got to look at, and we'd alerted this earlier as a potential, or kind of, it was alerted more as a after the fact type play. When we alerted it, it was only in like the 220s or so, and it kind of looked like perhaps it was done. But what you got to remember is when you see these come through on your news screener with positive news, and with a gain out of the gate or pre-market, first thing you got to do is look at that float, and you can see the float is under 600,000 shares, which is a puny float. Now, not always, but typically when you've got that low of a float, you've got longs tripping over each other to get a hold of shares, and you've got shorts that just cannot get out, and these will just skip up quickly. So even though we kind of alerted it in the 220s, 230s, and it looked like it was done, it went sideways. You can see here using just kind of basic support and resistance. It held to, I'm hovering over it right now. You can see all morning it held to, and then basically rocketed straight up to almost $4. Now, tough to hold all the way through that, but you can ride the momentum on these. Then it topped at 4, pulled back. Yeah, you could have shorted it there, but you would have had to have about perfect timing. And now it's pretty well sideways. We're talking Friday afternoon. It's now basing in the 330s, 340s. Good potential for this thing to run and continue to squeeze. Friday afternoons are well known for squeezes, especially when you have this kind of recipe. If you look at, several things. Positive news. Let me go to the daily chart. Yep, there we go. So positive news, low float, major volume. I mean, look at this. If you go back on the volume, there's just nothing up until today. So when you've got all these things that line up, there's a good potential for a fast-moving stock. So we'll kind of be curious to see where this goes the rest of the day, but good potential for a squeeze. The other is, let me get there. Other kind of interesting stocks, though not as interesting as CLRB. ONCS, another, had some positive news, or had earnings a couple days ago. Kind of a delayed move, but again, if we go out to the daily chart, you can see we've got, a pretty good volume spike here. And it is a beat down chart. Now, can it come back enough to make it worthwhile? We shall see, but it's nice that when you've got this beat down stock, you've got kind of support in those 150s, and you've got some positive news, as well as a lot of social media mentions, a lot of chatter about this stock. So the other one is ORIG, which was an earnings winner from yesterday. Very, kind of gapped up this morning, but failed, holding in the 230s. It's based. It looks like it's trying to pick a trend. But, this one could be flat. We'd kind of highlighted it as a potential runner, but kind of looks like maybe it's out of steam now. Now, if it gets, some volume here into the close, again, potential maybe that you get some squeezes or some shorts that want out before the weekend, and it could move up. And then PRGN is kind of the same thing. We talked about this the other day as a potential short. This just... read the new filings, but I believe it was some sort of debt restructuring. But this thing is just a kind of a perennial pop and fader, and you can see after that news and gap up this morning, it's just in straight fade mode and could very well kind of wash out into the close and maybe a potential short into next week as well. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next week.